horrendous torrents of blood. I was screaming.
The shark came back the second time and upset the boat. Uncle Angie was drowned and Uncle Robbie was drowned.
The nearest thing we've ever had in British waters to an in-water shark attack.
The shark bit me. There was blood, there was screams, and we were taken to hospital.
The top set of his teeth going into my neck and my head.
And I saw this fin go past, and then again it came in from another direction and he pushed it away again.
I've been fascinated by sharks ever since I was told I couldn't go swimming because there had been a shark attack. I was a child then in Kuwait, and now here in Britain, sharks are my life. I'm chairman of the Shark Trust and of the Shark Conservation Society, so I'm lucky I get to hear most of the shark stories. There are over 30 species of sharks in our waters, including some that are on the dangerous to man list. In the last 15 years, I've investigated over 80 claimed encounters with the dreaded great white. Very few of these remain credible following investigation, but when I started to hear that there had been shark attacks in our waters and even shark-caused human deaths, I couldn't resist checking it out. Shark Attack Britain is a series of detective stories. Who attacks who? Who's guilty? Who's innocent? That's what we're setting out to discover. This beach at B Sands in sleepy South Devon on the 12th of June 1971 might have witnessed the nearest thing we've ever had in British waters to an in-water shark attack. The incident was watched by John Timpany, and he saw his friend Jim Johnson leave the water more than a little shaken up.
We arrived down here on holiday with my family, and it was about late afternoon in June, and the weather was beautiful, lovely sunshine, the glassy sea, it was flat calm, and he was snorkelling out there, and I was watching him as I was eating, and then suddenly he was only about 60 yards, 70 yards off the beach, and I saw this fin go past, and I said to everybody else in the caravan, did you see that shark? And they just looked up and said, no, didn't see it. And you must be imagining it. And then I was looking again as I was eating, then it came back again. The fin went past. It was only went past him. It was only visible for a few seconds, but it went past him again from a different direction. And again I said, did you see the shark? Did you see the shark? And they looked up and they said no. By that time Jim Johnson was snorkelling in, and we got out of the caravan and walked down the beach to see if he caught anything. And as soon as he got to the shallows and he could stand up, he was blurting out that this shark had molested him, and it must have been about 8 to 10 feet long, and it came up so close it bumped into it, and he pushed it away with his hand spear, and then he got quite flustered and he snorkeling back as quickly as he could, and then again it came in from another direction and he pushed it away again, and he was really quite frightened, and he was explaining all this to us on the beach, which clarified the fact that I saw it to the others.
Was the shark a mako? I doubt it, as they are rare in our waters. It's more likely this was a porbeagle, Britain's own version of the great white shark. A shark attack in a quiet country pub outside Tenbury Wells in Worcestershire? Inside this pub used to be a giant 4.5-metre aquarium. In the aquarium were black-tip reef sharks. Every night the chef, Paul Smith, used to put his hand in and feed them prawns. One night he wasn't fast enough. They got his hand and he had to be rushed off down this road to hospital to get stitched up. Black-tip reef sharks reach 2 metres in length and are normally found in the tropics, where they often school in large numbers. The depths of rural England are not their usual habitat.
It was my turn to feed the shark. That evening I took the prawns from the fridge, dropped them into the tank, took my eye off him for one split second. There was blood, a few screams, and before I knew it I was on my way to the local hospital.
Took your eye off him for one split second and then what? He attacked you, he bit you, he got your arm, what happened?
Before I knew it, he was on my finger.
On your finger?
He was on my finger, yes.
You were in hospital being stitched up. Have you got any scars or anything?
I have, yes. Just one on that finger there.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, there, 3.5 inches worth of wound.
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
Was this the first shark attack wound that the hospital had dealt with, do you think?
I think so, the first one on record.
So you're the first victim to be attacked by a shark. How many miles from the sea here?
Roughly 100 miles, give or take a few miles.
That's pretty bizarre. You get attacked by a shark in a pub 100 miles from the sea.
Yes, it was totally bizarre.
Is this the guy here?
This is him, yes. We called him Miami.
So how big a monster attacked you? How big is Miami? Was Miami?
Roughly 2 foot long.
It's an absolutely bizarre story. Do you think Miami prefers prawns or chef?
I think he prefers prawns.
Does he? Sensible Miami.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you.
Shark attacks in British seas seemed improbable before I started this quest. Even more improbable would be incidents involving the harmless basking shark. So when I heard a rumour of an accident involving baskers, I had to find out what had happened. My research took me to the Scottish village of Carradale. What had happened? Had there been witnesses? Were there any survivors? In British villages, the local pub is a great place to start to look for information. Hello, is that the Carradale Arms? Hello, good morning. My name's Richard Peirce. I'm researching an incident that happened an awfully long time ago when a basking shark caused the drowning of 3 residents. I'm just wondering if you could tell me, are there any living witnesses or perhaps any survivors that might be alive in Carradale today? There are. Brilliant. Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, my next step is going to be to work out a trip to come and see you and ring you back and book some rooms. That's really brilliant. Thank you so much. The round trip would be over 1,000 miles, but there was only one way to get to the truth, and that was to go there. The basking shark is the second biggest fish on the planet. It can grow up to 10 metres in length and weigh the same as a single-decker bus. However, it is exclusively a plankton feeder, so is regarded as harmless to man. On Scotland's west coast there were active basking shark fisheries up until the 1950s. The liver oil was used in lighting our streets and in cosmetics, and other body parts gave this animal added value. I'm on the site of Anthony Watkins' basking shark factory. This factory operated decades ago and it was a place of death. Basking sharks were harpooned out at sea, they were brought back here, they were dragged up the beach, they were butchered here, and then their body parts taken up to the factory in front of me to be processed. There's a tragic irony here, because just on the other side of Carradale is Port Ree. And Port Ree was where the first ever deaths of humans caused by basking sharks occurred 72 years ago today. The pub has come up trumps. I've tracked down a close relative from the family which lost 3 people. Coincidentally, our witness is married to a one-time basking shark harpooner.
There were 5 people in the boat. There was my Uncle Robert, Uncle Angie, my cousin Jessica, my wee cousin Neil, and local man Donald MacDonald. They went out fishing. That was a big treat when they came here, especially with Uncle Angie. They were just off the point out there at the bay, and the shark came at them. It jumped below the boat and upset the boat. Now Uncle Angie and Uncle Robbie put the wee fella, wee Neil, back in the boat, and Jessica and Donald MacDonald. But the shark came back the second time and upset the boat again. They weren't so lucky that time. Uncle Angie was drowned and Uncle Robbie was drowned. Wee Neil was drowned too. Jessica and Donald MacDonald were saved.
The terrible tragedy of 3 shark-caused human deaths 70 years ago haunts this small community to this day. The basking sharks that were part of the life of this village have now largely disappeared, but the story won't go away. If your name is Smith and you're a chef, being bitten by sharks seems to be something of an occupational hazard. Paul Smith was bitten by a live shark feeding them prawns in his restaurant. Darren Smith was bitten by a dead shark on his way to a restaurant in Newquay, Cornwall. Incredible? Well, it really did happen. Darren was driving along, the shark was on a bed of ice in the back of his vehicle. He braked sharply and a 50-kilo shark shot forward and ended up cuddled up on his shoulder. He leant backwards to push it off his shoulder, but he missed. His hand ended up in the shark's mouth, and Darren had to be rushed to hospital with a wound needing 17 stitches. In 1988, Texaco were the operators of the North Sea Tartan oil field. In June that year, 370 feet, that's 115 metres, underneath an oil platform, a diver was attacked by a 10-foot shark. Poor beagle sharks are often filmed by robotic cameras under North Sea rigs. The diver was doing a video survey using a handheld camera and lights. The diver pans his camera to reveal a large shark swimming close alongside him. The supervisor has a monitor and can see what the diver is filming. At these depths, supervisor and diver are in constant communication. Suddenly, the worried voice of the diver is heard by the supervisor.
Oh my God, look at this. Bloody hell, it's a shark. I know. Is it bothering you? Not at the moment.
Then the shark moves in fast and seems to hit the diver. The picture goes haywire. The diver actually has hit the incoming shark with his camera to protect himself. The shark was more likely to have been attracted by the lights than be attacking the diver. We will never know for sure the motive behind the shark's charge, but the diver would have had every reason to think he was being attacked. Out there on August the 30th, 2008, near Lundy Island, is where angler Stephen Perkins got more than he bargained for when he caught a blue shark. The blue shark bit him and he had to be helicoptered to hospital to stop the bleeding, which was threatening his life.
There was 4 of us on the boat there, and like 3 of us had caught sharks before, and another fellow with us wanted a photograph of it, so we brought the shark to the side of the boat. He's hoping to take a photograph, and the shark spun up in the trace when he got alongside the boat there, sticking with his head sticking out vertically. And Steve tried to grab it by the side there so we could cut the trace, and it spun around a bit too quick and clamped onto Steve's forearm.
I just turned to ask one of the boys to hurry up or to help me, and lack of concentration, the shark latched onto my arm. Yeah. And his bottom jaw, or her bottom jaw, came up and done that. but the top jaw stopped on the bone there.
Yeah.
But it severed two arteries. It was showing the bone. You could see all the wrist bone, and there was all sinew and bits and pieces hanging out there. It wasn't very pleasant.
Stephen's wound was potentially life-threatening because they could not stem the blood flow. He had to get real emergency treatment and fast. Their call for help resulted in a helicopter evacuation without which Stephen would have bled to death. And it was to North Devon Hospital in Barnstable, was it?
Barnstable, yeah. But that was literally 6 minutes. I think he said it took 6 minutes to get into the hospital.
If you had not been winched off to Barnstable Hospital, Stephen, what were you, an hour away from passing out?
Yeah, I would have bled out. My blood pressure would have dropped. I'd lost a considerable amount of blood. I would have been in trouble.
The combined efforts of his friend, the helicopter crew and the team here at North Devon's Accident and Emergency Centre are what stopped Stephen Perkins becoming the first man to die of a shark bite sustained in British waters. Nestled in the heart of the Kent countryside is the 14th century Wheatsheaf Inn. Hever Castle, where King Henry VIII seduced Anne Boleyn, is less than a mile away. This pub was used as a hunting lodge by the king, and in 1997 the landlady was bitten on the neck by a shark in the bar inside. Unlikely? Let's go in and check it out.
It was the summer of 1997. A hot July afternoon, and old Gory was mounted in the centre of our menu board. I stood on a chair and leaned in front of him. Unfortunately, I lifted my shoulder, which caught underneath his jawbones. He fell onto me, his top set of teeth sticking into my head, and the bottom very, very sharp needle teeth scoring through my shoulder, and a very, very nice silk shirt that I had, causing a lot of blood and a lot of shouting and a lot of upset amongst the customers, who were obviously deeply concerned and shocked to see this shark attack actually happening in their local pub.
It's difficult not to watch these quirky stories and smile. On that day, however, with a shark jaw sticking into her shoulder, our landlady certainly wasn't laughing. Here, off the Lizard, in the summer of 1956, a basking shark blew up the Royal Navy. This was a story I had to get my teeth into, and the local newspaper offices seemed the obvious place to start. After trawling through 50 years of archives, I finally stumbled across the story. It seems the day before the tragedy, according to the newspaper, divers had been doing operations on the seabed. They surfaced and were threatened by what Commander Brooks judged to be a dangerous shark. The shark seen by the naval divers was thought to be dangerous, maybe even a great white. For this reason they decided to play safe and destroy it. The plan was simple: return to the same place, find the shark and blow it up. To do this they constructed a sort of bolas device. Here's my crude attempt at illustrating it. The shark would swim past the boat, the device would be dropped on its back, it would snag on the dorsal fin, the shark would obligingly swim off over there and they'd turn the boat away from the explosion. Everything went according to plan until the shark forgot its orders and swam back under the boat and exploded, killing the two civilians and seriously injuring the two Royal Naval personnel. The coroner commented, perhaps rather dryly, "It's quite clear what happened. Unfortunately, the charges exploded sufficiently near to the dinghy to blow it up." In view of this event, it doesn't look like a very safe way to use explosives, but we cannot foresee these things. He recorded a verdict of misadventure. I've been contacted by a girl who claims to have been sitting on the lavatory in her own bathroom and have been attacked by a shark. Extraordinary. Don't know what'll come next. Anyway, I'm now on my way to London to try and get to the bottom of this.
Having been given the most wonderful, rather large tiger shark jaw by a family friend, I had the dilemma when we moved house of having to decide where to put it. Not having anywhere appropriate anywhere else in the house, I thought perhaps on top of the cistern in the loo might be a rather nice idea, so that when somebody went to flush it, they'd have to reach their hand through the jaw itself. So of course I, daringly, was the first person to trial the hand through jaw flush mechanism. As soon as I touched the top of the cistern, the whole thing rocked and fell down and bit me rather convincingly on the wrist. It was horrendous, torrents of blood. I was screaming. No, it was it gave me a nasty old bite. I did have a lot of puncture marks, so I don't know when the shark was caught, but it still got it.
Perhaps the most bizarre incident I've found involving human-shark interaction occurred in June 1981 off the Isle of Wight. A shark angling party were out there fishing for thresher sharks. They knew there was one there. It was stalking them. It ignored their baits, it ignored their floats, and for 4 hours they had this kind of standoff. And then suddenly the shark leapt out of the water and landed in the boat with them. That's pretty cosy. It's as cosy as you want to get. That tail will take your head off. And apart from the tragic deaths, this is about as dangerous an incident as I've managed to discover involving shark attacks in British waters. Like the great white shark, the thresher is semi-warm-blooded, and its presence in British waters is a surprise to many. However, 26 years after the Isle of Wight incident, the world record thresher was caught off South Cornwall. This was a 5-metre, half-ton giant, and is getting close to being as big as they get. The largest scale shark attack we've discovered occurred in late 2003. This wasn't sharks attacking man, this was man attacking sharks. Over 130 poor beagle sharks were landed by a single fisherman in just a few days here in Newlyn, which is one of Britain's busiest fishing ports. All the sharks we are seeing here were caught by one boat on one day in one place, only a few miles off Cornwall. They are poor beagle sharks and are first cousins of the great white. They aggregate or form groups, which is why these large catches were possible.
What a pretty sight there, isn't it? That's 40 there. I think you've got another 20 odd in the boat still.
Because they aggregate, often by sex, their breeding populations are particularly vulnerable to overfishing. Of the 30 shark species found in our waters, over 1/3 are listed as endangered, with some being close to extinction. And extinct is forever. The relationship between sharks and man has always been an uneasy one. However, today, sharks are in far more danger from humans than we are from sharks.
One, two, three. Hop! Yeah, bugger! Reba, Reba, Reba! Look at the size of that one! Woo!
The scenes you are watching cannot be repeated, as progress has now been made towards protecting some of our sharks.
That's made the day. day, isn't it?
Statistically, British people are in far more danger from cows than they are from sharks. Our investigation has shown you're much more likely to end up in hospital as a result of being attacked on land than when swimming in the sea. The sea is actually the safest place. The pub isn't safe, nor is your lavatory. You're in danger on boats, and trying to blow up a basking shark can end in fatal disaster. We started out to discover guilt or innocence, the attacked and the attacker. Our investigation has taken us thousands of miles, and we've tracked down lots of stories. There really is no guilt, there's no innocence. There are accidents and there are tragedies. And the conclusion has to be that the shark is far more sinned against than sinner.